Be'ez Hashem Parshas Emor, Tavshin Pei Gimel. Previous year we started discussing, actually 2 shiurim ago, about how davening calms down a person and makes a person feel so connected to the Rebbeinu Shalom and brings out Bitachon. If it seems to be that davening is letting a person voice their opinion to the situation that they're going through, even more they get invested in their rotzain, and that so badly want the Rebbeinu Shalom should change his mind. And we're told to daven. And it's a mitzvah deraisa, especially when a person is in a mitzukah, when a person is in a tzorah. So they have to daven, and they are supposed to bring out their pain and beg and daven to the Rebbeinu Shalom. So how does that make that a person should, in the end of the game, when Hashem decides, whatever Hashem decides, it should work, that the person should say, "Oh, Baruch Hashem, I'm happy." I once heard a word of the B'yana Rebbe Zalzayin Gesund. There was a young woman that wasn't well, and they were davening. She left over 9 or 10 years Simon, something like that, and they davened, and then they told him that it's over. She was under 40, and I remember it. He came out of his room, and he said, "Till now was Melech Shemei Tefilah. From now is Melech Tomim Da'arkoi." That means we daven because we know the Rebbeinu Shalom is a Shemei Tefilah. But then, when the news comes, so then we know that the Rebbeinu Shalom knows what he's doing, Melech Tomim Da'arkoi. But how could a person have that we should feel like that? Now is Melech Shemei Tefilah, and then we should feel the Melech Tomim Da'arkoi. We shouldn't be so devastated. So this is a topic which is very, very yesodiyistic. Previous year we mentioned from the Mendel Vitebsky in Prior, it's a concept that a person starts or davening, he enters the davening by expressing how he feels and how it's a brochen and how he so badly needs a Yeshua and all that. And while you're davening, because of the mitzvah of tefillah, like while you're doing it, slowly, what's going to happen is the person is going to start feeling a closeness to the Rebbeinu Shalom, and that itself could actually bring out of the person the rotzen of their neshama, which the neshama really wants to have kirvus or the kirvus the neshama really wants, what the Rebbeinu Shalom wants. Like conceptually, there is such a musik, a concept. This is what happens if a person knows how to daven and davens properly. What's fascinating is there's a Rashi and a Malbim on the famous kapitel of the David Hashem Oiri V'Yishi. And Rashi says, in the middle David is davening, he says, L'cho Omar Libi, Bakshu Fono Yaspanecha Hashem Avakesh. Now this kapitel of Tehillim, David HaMelech said when he was in a real mess. The Chazal say, it says, the Medrash brings that what happened was that he left the whole machane, all the women, all the children were there, he went to fight, and then when he came back, Amalek went and they took everybody, and the whole Klal Yisrael blamed him, and he felt guilty. Not only he lost everything, all the families, he felt he did the wrong thing, and the whole Klal Yisrael was against him. So he lost Olam Hazeh and Olam Haba, and he said, Hashem Oir V'Yishi, Hashem is still close to me. Even if I made the biggest mistake, I could always turn to Hashem, even if I made such a big mistake. And he held on to the Rebbeinu Shalom. In the end, nothing happened. He got everybody back, no money, there was no harm. But when he was in that matziv, he had never been in such a so b'mitzukah, they say, and in such a crisis from all sides. Be'emes, it was messed up that there's no way out. But he said, say that. But the Rebbeinu Shalom can help me, even if there's no way out. In that kapitel, in middle, it says this pasuk: L'cho Omar Libi, Bakshu Fono Yaspanecha Hashem Avakesh. Rashi says, L'cho Omar Libi means something inside me is telling me, which means my heart is coming and telling me Yeruach HaKodesh, that instead of asking for whatever I'm asking for specifically, really I should be begging the Rebbeinu Shalom, could I please see you? It's dark. I wish I could feel that you're here. That's all. And then the second part of the pasuk is, you know something? I'm going to do that right now, and that's what I'm changing gears. I'm asking for that. The Malbim elaborates it. Mamash Rachel Bitchak Tana. He says, David HaMelech said, I know that I asked for specifics for the oivim, the enemies should be killed. I know that I asked, but you know something? I really want you. That's what I want. And that's a journey, that's an experience that's supposed to happen while someone's davening. Slowly, it's supposed to do that to the person, even though they come to daven and they're verbally what they're starting to daven, everything is all about exactly what they feel in their tzara. So there is such a concept. You could check it up. Rashi, Malbim, it's very, very clear. The Prior goes a bit deeper how that works. It exposes the neshama. So let's understand it better, because the better we chap how this works, we could try to see if it works by me. And if, to say a concept in the luft, a high madrega, doesn't really help people. It's more about to learn how to do it, the exercise. That's Torah. Yeah. So let's give a new name to this. Our neshama is in a cage, is in prison. David HaMelech says, "Hitzio mimazger nafshi." He asked the Rebbeinu Shlem, please open up the levushim that's hiding. It's under so many covers, the neshama, and I can't feel it. While, as long as my neshama is stuck, then I feel I don't feel good. I feel so I'm in such pain. If the Rebbeinu Shlem is going to help me, and I'm going to be successful to take off another cover, another hester from my neshama, and I'm going to feel my neshama coming out. I'm going to feel it. I'm going to feel much better. Now, people use this language, terminology, like I feel I'm stuck. It's very accurate. It's accurate. It's very much accurate. They're just not. Sometimes they're pointing at they're stuck, that they don't know what to do next. That's not the point. But sometimes people are deeper than that. They say, something is stuck inside. I'm not successful I can't do what I'm supposed to be doing. I can't be productive. I can't talk to people. Whatever it is, if it's embarrassment, whatever part of their nefesh is holding them back, but they feel that they're stuck. And this is the most accurate zach that a person could feel, because it's emes. It's emes, and now you're much closer to saying the name of the problem. We're all like that. The person that doesn't have money, or the person that got messed up with a deal, whatever it is, with other people, they're also there. The people that are not saying they're stuck, that's the problem, because they're also stuck. They feel that they know it all. Yeah. That's the biggest problem. That's the problem. That is the emes. Let's say the emes. When we get messed up, when we don't know what to do next, and we're missing something in our lives, we're stuck. Our neshama doesn't find the way. It's looking for the door, it's knocking at the wrong door. No. Tried something, didn't work out, flopped again. Tried something else again, it didn't work out. I don't see the way. David HaMelech says in the end of Kapitel Kuf Yotes, such a beautiful posik, To'isi keseh oiveit, bakesh avdecha. I can't find the way. I'm like a lost seh, a lamb, I'm lost. Again, trying this way, that way. I don't even know if I'm going in the right direction. That's always the problem. If I know that I'm doing progress, I'm going in the right direction. But say that it'll take another few months. I have no idea. I might be getting now deeper in. That's what we sometimes feel. I tried something and then it fell flat on my face, and I might be bechlal going the wrong direction. That's how we feel, and that's what you're supposed to feel. That is the emes. When you turn to the Rebbeinu Shlem, when any problem that a person in, I don't know direction. Ich weiß nicht, but I feel that I have something inside, and there is a light, but I'm not matzliach. I'm not being successful. That's how a person comes to the Tefilah Tehillim. That's his matziv that he is when he comes there. That's how he's supposed to be. And many times we feel like that, just not always you have the oisias, the words, how to express it. Now, Tefilah what it does to the nefesh is geula. There's a word for geula, not redemption. Deliverance, redemption. These two, you take out of the golus. Geula, you go out of the no, golus also has exile. Geula, there's golus and geula. The neshama, while it's in the guf in a regular matzav, it's in golus. Unless you do something active, then the neshama is in golus. It's like hiding, it's covered. Now, what you're doing while you're davening is you're helping it come out of that golus, of that, and it's coming out. It was nisgala. Now, the Chavis Talmidim and Achshoros Avrechem and the Sefer Achshoros Avrechem explains that the real geula that a person has when they take out the neshama, that it's nisgala, they feel their neshama. They got so emotional, and it's more than emotion. Emotion is like the feelings that go with it. They baglate. They come. You have emotions when that happens, but it's deeper than that. It's real life. The real geula, why a person feels such a geula is because when that happens, it's like your neshama was exposed, and now the Shekhinah could be shoyr on the neshama, and that's when a person really feels connected to the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's really because it's step A that brings step 2, the step B that now the Rebbeinu Shalom could be shoyr on you, and it's a stickle like nevuah that a person feels such a closeness to the Rebbeinu Shalom. But Tefilah, let's go get simple again. A person davens, and slowly he could explain himself. And throughout the psukim of Tehillim, he understands the taich a little. He goes where he finds psukim to give it. Oh, this is how I feel. It's already a chatzi nachoma. Oh, so you could expose, you could bring it out, you could put it onto the table. When you have a session with a child or with a teenager or with someone that's in distress, if it's a professional, whatever it is, you could be having hours that you already spent. When they were matzliach to say it out, that sentence, that's the light bulb. That means now we touched it. That person's eyes open up like that, not only yours. Oh, finally, this is how I feel. And you really feel like you're halfway there, because till then, you don't even know how you feel. You don't even know what's going on. Tefilah brings the neshama to have a geula. It helps open up that you could express yourself. It starts from simply expressing yourself, and to bislach, what happens is that everything's on the table. When there's a fight and people are not clear, people are not honest, and everything is like with remozim, you can't get to the bottom of it. You can't make up shora. You can't fix it. But when you make an asifa around the table as a meeting, and people came because they felt, let's for once put everything on the table. Let's for once speak. There's always like the beer in the room. Let's speak about it openly. And you bring everything, you put everything on the table as is. It might be very unpleasant to do that, but once it's on the table, it's not so hard to start fixing it. It's always more that the person really means something else, and it's all mixed feelings tangled with 10 other things. When a person davens and he's masking to leave go, you could say, no problem. A person says, I always dreamt of, and this is why I worked so hard, and look what ended up happening. Okay, say it as is. That itself brings the neshama more to the hisgalus of the neshama, that your feelings come out onto the table the way it is, and you talk to the Rebbeinu Shalom and say, I'm disappointed. I'm very, very disappointed. I really didn't believe you're ever going to do this to me. I was sure that I did this mitzvah, the other mitzvah, but I didn't expect this to happen. If you could get yourself out of state, you're going to have charata while you're saying it. That's good.
Now, isn't this easier if you're doing Hishtadlus, speaking in your own lashon instead of trying to stuff it into the words of Shema?
So the answer is that Hishtadlus is a tool that many tzaddikim, some people think it's only affiliated to wrestlers. It's not true. Many tzaddikim spoke about Hishtadlus, and with the very big miles that has, and we actually mentioned something that works well with Hishtadlus. But Tehillim, if a person knows what it says in Tehillim, he's going to find in the Tehillim also. It doesn't have to be in Yiddish. And al pi halacha, when a person is davening on his own, b'yechidus, Lashon Kodesh has a much bigger mile. If you daven b'tzibur, or you're davening the nusach of the tzibur with the tzibur, then you could daven in any language. Now, you could always speak to the Rebbeinu Shalom in any language. You could always do that. But you asked if it's not better with his boydedus. It depends. If a person cannot express himself, then of course they should use any language, because if not, they're up to zero. They can't talk to the Rebbeinu. You must talk to the Rebbeinu Shalom.
Last week's parsha, he talks about the miles and the chasronis
of his boydedus. Parshas Kedoshim. Right. True. Yeah, the Mavasham is just trying to say, that then you have to see other people's good avoid. But he meant the chelik of his boydedus of the talking, verbalizing, saying, "This me and the Rebbeinu Shalom, say all you got, say the whole thing." What we're trying to get to here right now is, how could it be that you're going to start off Tefilah, regular, mundane, pashta people, not targets, not wanting what the Rebbeinu Shalom wants, and it should still bring you that in the end you feel close to the Rebbeinu Shalom. So what we started off with is that Tefilah is a type of a geula for your neshama. That means it's not you're letting it open up. You're exposing everything that you have. You're putting everything on the table. When you do that, then automatically you feel better. But it's not only psychologically you feel better because I was able to release the tension, what I have to say. Now you want me really to say what I have to say? You don't want to hear what I have to say. That mess inside the person is causing a lot of damage. And when it's his personal pain, when it's targeted, it's people, or he's upset at, bottom line, it's messing up his connection to the Kira, to the Rebbeinu Shalom. So, let's do the simple zach. A person comes to Shemona Esrei, or comes to Tillim, or he does it in his own language, whatever it is, in any type of way, and he starts Yisicheno, he speaks about it. He's saying exactly how he feels. He really expresses. Now, David HaMelech, 50% of Tehillim does that. Half of Tehillim, David HaMelech is saying how much he's in pain. What he feels is happening to him, and he's not managing, and he doesn't know if he's going to survive. We have to understand that. This is the system of half of Tehillim. The other half, he's just fine. Not only is he fine, he's in Gan Eden, Baruch Nafshi Hashem. But Tehillim is the biggest raya that this could bring to that, even if we don't understand the Gans and how, but look, it's a fact. Because David HaMelech is doing mamash this. He's explaining how he feels, but he's talking to his best friend. He's talking to the Rebbeinu Shalom. He found the Rebbeinu Shalom and he's telling the Rebbeinu Shalom, this is how I feel. This itself is a geula because it's taking the person out of their, it's not in a cage. You're releasing it. Now, when you do that, you're forming a certain type of relationship with the Rebbeinu Shalom. Because if you're telling the Rebbeinu Shalom your secrets, you trust him. Yeah. If you're doing that, there's a certain amount. While you're doing that part of it, that's what we're saying. While you're in that part, you feel that the Rebbeinu Shalom is listening. That's emunah. You trust the Rebbeinu Shalom that he's out there to listen.
Because the person might be afraid, like you said. Sometimes the things you're saying, they're not a piyashkafa,
But David HaMelech does that. Yeah. You have to say what you feel. As long as the person knows that it shouldn't be beseder what I'm going to say now. If he knows it shouldn't be beseder, then you could say, but I know I'm not supposed to talk like that, but I want to do Tefilah. I want to do Tefilah. You are right and I'm wrong, but could I say just how I feel? That's a good conversation. That sentence is the sentence of a good shalom bayis. Could I just explain how I feel? You're right. I apologize. I just want to say how I feel. When you talk to the Rebbeinu Shalom like that, you are being open. You're being open. And that's being megala your neshama. The end of this is unbelievable what's going to happen in the end. But this is the beginning of the salvation. It's the beginning of this geula, what you're doing. Now, smichas geula l'tefillah is one of the yesodas of davening. That don't come to the Rebbeinu Shalom and say, is it my turn? Okay, I hope you have time for me because I have a lot to I have a lot to say. You can't do that. No. It's a schwache tefillah. The Chassam Sofer, before I go weiter, the Chassam Sofer says, every time you daven with your own words, you should be being masmach geula l'tefillah. How? Yeah, the Chassam Sofer says it. I have the Lashon in one of the Svarim right here. I read it from inside. He explains, by thanking before you start davening, you're doing your personal custom being masmach geula l'tefillah. Very simple. And it makes sense. Because if you give the Hakdama to what you're going to say, then you're saying, there is light, the Rebbeinu Shalom is a Torah made, the Eibusha does everything, it's true, I know it's true. Right now, it's not here. It's there, that's my problem. But how does a person make it to come in here? So what the person does is, he says, okay, he puts down all the pieces of the game. He says, okay, you take out all the pieces. A doctor sometimes, it's scary to watch. He takes another thing out of his stick, another thing out of his stick. He says, just wait. Another thing. And then a moil sometimes does that. He puts down like 10 things. When you're going to daven, you say, okay, this is geula, I know. And you say, the Rebbeinu Shalom, atu rishon, atu achron. You bring it out of a moil to go off, and the Rebbeinu Shalom can help any person. I am clear with that. My issue is that it didn't happen here. And now, once I'm clear, right now I daven. So the Yerushalmi in the beginning of Brachas, Rashi brings the Yerushalmi. It says that one of the big problems of not being masmach geula l'tefillah, I mean not saying Ezra Saveseinu, all that right before, or saying the Indian of Yetzias Mitzrayim right before you daven. So many times you look at it, you can't start davening before you say that. Yerushalmi says, if you already mentioned geula, and you already sang to the Rebbeinu Shalom, then it's a shot not to daven. He does it the opposite. So it's like a melech, it's like you knocked on the Rebbeinu Shalom's door, and then you ran away when he opened the door. That's what the Yerushalmi says. So the door that we're talking about is the door of the heart. That means when you do that, you're giving opportunity, because this is what you want should happen. I wish that I could feel, that I could experience, I should be able to live it, that zach that it says in the Torah, but right now it's not happening to me. So that is helping you understand the picture. Now, the being masmach geula l'tefillah is a person saying both parts of the story. If we would say it humorous, you would say, there was once a guy, when we were bachim, we used to talk about a guy in the shchuna, that he has the whole conversation for you. You stand there, but he says, how you doing? You're doing fine, right? Okay? And he used to go through the whole back and forth for you. He used to ask all the questions, he used to say all the answers, and then he said, okay, we're done. When a person is masmach geula l'tefillah, they're really saying the questions and answers. That means they're saying the answers, but they have the full right to say the questions. Tefilah is stand there and say the questions and the answers. The Rebbeinu Shalom says, if you do both, you have a neshama, you have a guf. I know that you feel terribly in pain. You could say all the questions as long as you're honest enough, like when the Rebbe says, what do you think is the answer? I don't know. Think. What's trachst? And then slowly, you mentioned that the Rebbeinu Shalom took us out of Mitzrayim, and then you daven. You brought both parties to the table. That has a sgula that it should make that connection. The Rebbeinu Shalom has to make that connection, but your Hishtadlus for that is to talk about both parts. Speak about Gula, speak about Tefilah, And then the Rebbeinu Shem says, if you do that mitzvah, I'm going to help you that your neshama should slowly start feeling that thing that you feel it's there, but it didn't click. You hear sometimes a deep concept, and I heard it, I didn't get it. I need to hear it again. That concept. Now listen to a beautiful maral, fascinating maral. The Gemara says in Masechta Soita that the children also, after Kriyas Yamsov, by Kriyas Yamsov, everybody saw the Rebbeinu Shalom, but even the little, it says Rasa Shivcha Alayam, any dargah person was able to mamish point and see, wow, Zeh Kevi Vameyu, I see the Rebbeinu Shalom. And the Gemara says, it says Uba B'mei Imoy, and 2 lines before, and it says Tinuk Yoinik, a child in the middle of nursing would drop the nursing and turn to the Rebbeinu Shalom. A toddler would be cuddled by the mother, would drop and run to the Rebbeinu Shalom to say Shira, to show, wow, that's the Rebbeinu Shalom. Zog the Maral, let me explain you the depth. What does that mean? You know what it means? It means that when we don't realize, when our neshama is covered, then the person is schlepped. The person is is leaning towards where they feel that that's giving me my chiyas. So the child is taking the chiyas from the mother. But you know what happens when there's this galas hashchina? Then the child says, "Nah, that's not really where I'm really getting my chiyas from the Rebbeinu Shalom." So they turn to that and they say, "This is even more real. That's even more real." That's what the Maral explains that Gemara. It's fascinating. This concept really happens whenever a person has geula. What's Shira? What was the Shira? They saw Choshech, they saw Mitzrayim, they experienced it. And then Hashem said, okay, I'm the one that did it. I did it. And you want to see I did it? It was all for the good. Look, they're going to run after you. They had Mesiras Nefesh. When the time came, the sea split, what happened? The neshama got exposed. They got so amazed that they saw the Rebbeinu Shalom, that because they were so amazed that they saw the Rebbeinu Shalom, they dropped everything. They said, forget about what happened to the Mitzrayim. Look what happened. I found the Rebbeinu Shalom. It's not anymore if they're running after me or not. It's much more that I found something inside. I never knew who I am. I never knew this exists, such a shaykh as the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's the main part of Shri Pesach. It's fascinating. I never knew that I could ever experience to feel like this, to see such a zgalas. Anveyu is an ivu. What does the Gemara say is vanveyu? One of the types of vanveyu is you want to be like the Rebbeinu Shalom. Mahu racham avata racham. You learn it from vanveyu, but they never said it. Only then. That means they felt like their neshama is a nitzot, is a spark from the Rebbeinu Shalom. I want to be like him. What does the Eibusha like to do? Chesed? Okay, I want to do chesed. What is they instead of, that's the battle to the Tzoynoi. That's exactly what we spoke at the previous shir, or 2 shiurim ago. What happened was that they wanted what the Rebbeinu Shalom wants. That's vanveyu. That was the result from that happening.
It's a higher dagger than just wanting the Rasul Hashem. So I want to be like the Rebbeinu Shalom.
Yeah, because I want to go back to my source, because that's where I'm taking Chaim from. I don't want to leave go. I feel something I never felt. And where is it coming from? From the inside. Because the inside of a person, he feels the emes. Because he knew something is wrong. Because when a person does something that's very right, they feel something is right. It isn't, it's very, very wrong. It doesn't stim with their inside. If someone hurts somebody else because you said something back, you don't feel good afterwards because it doesn't stim. The nefesh of a person, when a person does a chesed with the whole heart, the bemis, they don't mean anything. They feel it makes sense. It sits well with me. That's when a person feels is sensitive to observe how they feel from the inside. There's galus from their neshama. That's what happens when a person has geula. It always happens. And when a person davens, besmichas geula Tefilah, what they're trying to do to them is they're trying to expose that. It means a person is going to do, you said his boy do this, Attila Mashmana Esra. When a person learns how to do it, they could do Bashmana Esra Mamash. Mamash they could do, but they have to, it's exercise to learn how to do that. That means they understand what they're going to do. And be'emes, every morning, this is the system. The person wakes up, he's tired, he's not like very, very, usually, you have more to come, wie heißt das? Forgot the word. They're not now in a matzav ruchni. Mama is running through the Wenschleim. It takes time. But there's a system how to get you into that. But now, because I slept now for X amount of hours, or whatever it is, my mind is not working. And the mind not working is not a big teretz, because people could, within 10 seconds, check if there's any updates or whatever, if someone replied. That's not a okay. But because the goof is taking it right away to that direction, the neshama is not working. Right now, neshama is not working. There is madregis, not dafka the biggest tzaddikim, that they did such avoid before they went to sleep, and that's the real way how to go to sleep with Derech Agav. The Gemara says you must be big, even Hasidim, they used to learn a few hours, or even not an hour, but learn a half an hour, bakol, before you go to sleep, and then say a Krishma Shalamita with the whole thing, and Negovasa the whole thing. It works wonders. It works wonders. Because big tzaddikim, they used to learn like, who knows how many daf Gemara before they went to sleep. And then the mind reviewed it, because that's what they remind. So it didn't have to be such a disconnect. But if you try it once, you'll see fascinating Sachen happen. You have to get like all the way into it. Back to the Nakuda that we're discussing, a person is out. Okay, now I'm in Golos. Now what do I do? Okay, there's a system how to get me out of Golos. There's Mahalach. How does that system work? One of the Mahalachim is Tefilah. Start talking to the Wenschleim slowly. In the beginning, it's going to be dry. Very dry. But if you chap what you're saying, you say another kapitel till him, and you look at the taich, another kapitel till him, and you mean it very serious, and you want to do tshuva. I want to come back. Tshuva is like coming back to yourself. Shuv Yisrael ad Hashem alekecho. You want to bring out that thing. Boom. If you know what to do, then you know what to expect, and you know how it feels when that happens. You have to teach people how to do that. Teach people that are struggling how to do that. Teach teenagers how to do that. They might not want to do it, but it doesn't make a difference. That is a emes. It's a yesod. That's how tefillah works. It brings out the best of you. It makes you humble. It makes you besimcha. It exposes you, and someone puts it out on the table. Now you can daven. Like now you're gonna want to have kibbutz. You're gonna daven for gashmi, so don't worry. But now you're good. Yeah, a person must learn how to do this exercise, and that's why the Rebbe gave us tefillah, because that's when a person's bema is gonna trust. He came with the tools to the real tefillah, how a person's supposed to come. Now someone asked the question, if anybody remembers, when we started this off, the beginning of 2 shiurim ago, the beginning of the shaila was Tefilah / Hishtadlus. The question was, how does the Rebbe Shem tell a person to get invested in something so stark and then accept any result, any outcome? It's so depressing. If I wouldn't care, Mela. So the question was not only when a person davens and then Hashem says, Melech Tomim Darakoi, it was also when a person does Hishtadlus and then Hashem says, yeah, but I said no. So we tried in the last year and the beginning of today's year to say how this works by Tefilah. That if you understand the concept of Tefilah, that you understand that you're going to come to the table and you're going to say your part, but you're going to be willing to listen. If anybody remembers, it was the beginning of last week's year. We mentioned people. No, it was 2 weeks ago. The guy says, I come to the Asifa, and it's just, you're going to do what you want anyway, so why am I here? What's the answer to that question? The answer is, you don't know, you didn't chap yet your place by this Asifa. You didn't understand why we're making this business meeting. Why are we making this meeting? What's the point of this meeting? The point of the meeting is that everybody says their vision. Everybody says what they hold. Now, we're all listening, but everybody wants to do the right thing afterwards. Even if a good business deal works, that if all parties are fighting gefährlich, no, we shouldn't invest, we should. But if everybody really is focusing to do the right thing, they're coming there because they want the businesses to succeed, then they don't want to be right. They don't want to go out and say that that's not what you're looking for. What you're looking for is that if you're going to get convinced during this meeting that it's not there, if you're going to hear more info, you're on the other side. You're there. You're in yani, they call it. You're focused on the tachlis, not about who's right. Like if you want to understand what not, look at the politics. The opposite of that. Nobody cares anymore what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. It's like only two teams playing a game. Totally not lemaisa. Now, if a person chaps that, then even if they came into the meeting and they said there, whatever, but then when they listened and they got convinced, they go out in the meeting very, very happy. Very now. There's a saying that they say in Israeli politics, they say it midor ledor for the last who knows how many years, that you have this head of the opposition that's busy saying what he's going to do, what he's not going to do, who's hawking for the last bunch of years, that he comes and after 2 months he does, of course, exactly the same that the previous prime minister did. And then I don't know who said the first one that said that saying, Masharim, no? That means what you see sitting at this side of the table, you don't see when you're sitting at that side of the table. That means while they're running it, they're exposed to more info, and it's not so simple. Now, if they have now it's all it's on us, but it used to be normal presidents, normal akaponim shtickle. So they would more rather want to do achrayas de gezach, even if it's against what they were screaming, because I don't feel they have the option now of doing what's not achrayas. So I know I said what I said, but what's my options right now? To just go down the drain because I said? So we have to finish that moshel. When you're screaming to the Rebbeinu Shalom, if you're going to be willing to listen to your heart, listen to your mind, listen to the whole thing, then you're going to want to do what's right. And then you're going to want that whatever is right should happen. So you're going to leave the meeting and you're going to say, I know. And I also know that I told you that I'm going to say what I have to say. I know. But he convinced me. He convinced me. If you're an adult, you say that. Why? Because you want the business to succeed. It's not about what I was screaming before. It's about, I can't. Right now we can't do that. But the difference is that here comes from the inside. That's what happens. You started off one way, but as long as you're willing to listen to your own neshama, slowly, it's going to come out, and the neshama is going to feel that closeness to the Rebbeinu Shalom, and that's how a person is supposed to try to focus their tefillas, that they should get into it, being so ibigenumen from being around the Rebbeinu Shalom that they're already masking. That's part one by tefillah. Now we started saying about Hishtadlus, but Hishtadlus l'chayr didn't get answered. Why? Because when a person is going to work, it's not about tefillah. It's about, you told me to do this, to do that. How's that going to make? Now everything failed. No money. I had to close shop. Chapter 11. Bizyoiness, all that. And then it's like, what's the problem? I was doing lots from the Rebbeinu Shalom. The Rebbeinu Shalom said, no money, who cares? You don't feel like that. You feel like a fool. You feel like I did the right thing. So, but the Chavos says, you're supposed to do what you're supposed to do, but then whatever the outcome is, the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to do whatever the outcome has to have. It still has that gap, that being devastated because you got invested. So, it's not so different, the answer. It's a very important answer. Whoever is really in the field of business, but you can't talk if you're under 30. Now, I mean to say, people that they went to work from the bottom up. That means if we would go back how people went to work just 40 years ago, let's say, the consistency, the hummel, that means today people, they're 25 and they're like, I'm not going to do this. What's my future here in the business? They want to be a partner by 21. They want to be a millionaire by 22. They're not interested in like going to work. And yeah, getting paid, maybe minimum, maybe a drop more. It's a very big mistake. It's a mistake even just plain practically, it's a mistake. So many people mess up because they're not doing the right way. Now, it's hard to elaborate now because it's a bit late. But the yesodis of how the world is made gesund, that means if you do it the way it was meant to be, then a person is supposed to start off being a helper of someone. They're starting off that they're trying to see what they're good at. They saw the koiches. They are invested in bringing out their koiches. They see the biggest success if they were able to help someone. Now it's a long. Now, not long ago, I was speaking to someone that business consultant, someone that helps people, and in the end, these people that see everybody failing and trying to help them, they need to be therapists. Why? Because they find why the person is taking his business down, because it's a problem in their nefesh. They're making a big mistake. They're not doing the normal steps. Now, this person that's a few years already in this business, he told me, if a person goes to work and does the steps the way a person's supposed to do, it makes the person a better person. It makes the person a better person. Makes you a consistent person. Makes you a humble person. It brings out that a person shouldn't be lazy. But even more than that, it brings out your neshama. This is what's important for our. A person has a neshama that has koiches. A koiches to be able to help others with whichever type of talent the Rebbeinu Shalom gave you. You have a way how to help others. Always. You have something that you could contribute. It could be helping a child. It could be helping people in business because you thought of a new idea. But the person's neshama was meant that a person should want to help others and use the talent and focus and be very consistent. And the Eibusha said of the world that people are going to like you and people are going to want to give you business and you're going to be, it's just going to work. Your neshama, your neshama and neshama is going to come out. Now, when a person feels that that's what happened to him, and he's an honest, good man, even lav dafka avodas Hashem. If a person is, let's go back with 100 years, I mean, not the crazy world. A person wants to be a good human being. Let's say they invested 10 years in an idea that they had. It didn't take off. But they learned a ton. Not about they learned what not to do in business so for the next business. No, I'm not talking about that. That's also choshev. I'm talking about what they learned about themselves. They never knew all this information about themselves. They never knew they could do this. They never knew what their shlichus is here until a new world opened up for them. They never knew they have such kishrin. They never knew they could really give something for somebody else and make someone. They're a new person. After 10 years, they have to close shop. A real mensch says, you know something? I went into this because I wanted to make money. The truth is, I didn't really make money, but I got something that's more than money. That's the emes. They really feel be'emes good. If, again, on the condition that those 10 years, this is what they were doing. They were focused on that. That's the Chovos HaLevavos trying to teach a person what real Hishtadlus looks like. The Achshoros Avreichim, we mentioned him before, the Baal Chovos HaTanim in the Sefer says, he says it very deep, but he says, the same way the Rebbeinu Shalom exposes himself, that you could like see him and create, is through his pu'ulos, that when Hashem does a gevura, so you like see something, wow, Hashem did that. Hashem did a big chesed, so you see. He says the neshama of a person is the same like, the Gemara in Brochas Daf Yud says, the neshama is also roya vein and ire. He says the neshama, that's what happened. The neshama gets exposed through pu'ulos. That means when you do something, then you could look back and see, what did it feel like? What happened to me while I was doing it? What was happening? You felt good, right? Which part? Which part didn't feel so good? Maybe it was the tension that you felt that you also focused. Look, observe what's happening to your neshama. He mentions there that so many people, he says, let's say someone builds a table. He says, they feel like their success story is the table, and they're focused on it. No. Why are you looking there? The success story is what happened here. You found a way to find the wood. You weren't lazy. You figured out a way how to fix that problem when that screw didn't go in right. Wow. Do much more of that. You don't know what you're doing to yourself. You're bringing out your neshama, you're bringing out your koyches. And these are the tools that are letting the Rebbeinu Shalom be shoyer on you when you let yourself come out. That's why sometimes boys in yeshiva, they plots. They almost sugar. Why? Because the nefesh can't handle that. Unless you let him learn with somebody else. Let him do something. It can't. And you're telling him, you don't have your Shamayim. You don't? That's what you're doing then. That's the emes. This is the emes. The nefesh of a person gets exposed when you let him do. Tefilah is one, Hishtadlus is the other. So this answers the question that if a person would learn how to do Hishtadlus right, instead of getting invested and say, Hashem, I beg you, this deal must go through. I understand, that's usually what the person is going to say. But remind yourself, does the Chovos HaLevavos say you should do that, like that, invested like that? No. You want that, okay. But didn't you go there because you were doing a shlichus? Guide me in the right way. Instead, you should say like this. You know how gullible, you know how wackeldig, but it's more than that. There's a better word. No, when a person's in a matziv that they lost, and they don't have anything, they feel like a paper. They feel so. Yeah, you know how I felt then? The davening that I davened when I didn't know what's next and I knew I might lose everything, I would never give that up. It was a crazy experience. Oh. Then, if you start learning how to do that, and you observe, and you slowly learn how to daven, you learn how to be a Baal Chesed, you learn how to be, you're bringing out the koyches nefesh of yours, and then, if in the end, that's not where you made your money, you don't feel that it was such a disaster. Grad Hashem helped a different way, but Lamaisa was very devastating. You don't feel that because it starts slowly to build up by the person. You know something? You know something? I really gained a ton. I gained a ton there because I became a new person. It wasn't easy. That helps a person understand that when a person does Hishtadlus right, it helps his galus on neshama, and when that happens, they like the revenge. Okay, have to give some time to think. But it's big Yesod. We're touching Yesodus of Chovos HaLevavos to try to get this right. Yourself. Okay.